This video is on the British Mark 7 heavy anti-tank mine. Now this mine is considered kind of an evolution of one of the German Teller mines, the German anti-tank mines from World War II. This mine replaced the British Mark 5 anti-tank mine, which was what their primary anti-tank mine at the end of World War II into the 1950s. I cannot find the exact date of when these entered service. That information apparently is classified. But what is not classified is that the British officially removed these from active duty in 2003 and reportedly, quote unquote, destroyed existing stockpiles by 2012. However, these mines are appearing in Ukraine. The Russians are capturing them. Now, when you take into account that the British say they are sending anti-tank mines to the Ukrainian military, it kind of tells you the British were lying about the date of destroying all existing stocks by 2012. Now, these mines are encountered across the Middle East and Africa. These are a very common landmine. Now, some basic information on them. They are steel cased, either in an OD green color or kind of a brownish color, either or. I've seen pictures of both and have pictures of both from different training videos. The same mine, slightly different paint scheme. They are approximately 12 3/4 inches in diameter and approximately 5 inches in height. The explosive weight the weight of the mine is 30 pounds. The explosive filler in it is TNT, and that is around 19 2/3 pounds. There is also a booster at the bottom of the fuse well that is made of tetrol, and that is around 30 ounces. These mines do have a secondary fuse well for attaching an anti-handling device. I have not seen yet in any pictures where the location of that secondary fuse well is. Is it underneath or is it on the side? I don't know. I cannot get information on that. These mines can be placed by hand or by mechanical means. The British do employ a towed mine plow, if you want to think of it that way, that it has a chute going down. You have a blade that cuts the ground in front, making a channel. The chute comes down right behind that blade, drops the mine every so many meters, and then you have a device in back, angled device, that pushes that dirt that was dug out by the blade back into the trench, covering it up, concealing that anything's there. These mines would be armed inside the vehicle, placed on the chute, and then when it's its turn, it gets laid out inside that trench. Now, the primary fuse on this is the number 5 double impulse fuse. Now, when I tried finding out what do they mean by double impulse, you get kind of conflicting information. It looks like the original fuse, the number 5, was designed so that a mine roller could go over the top of it and not set the mine off. But as soon as the tank would roll over the top, then the mine would activate. So maybe that's what they mean by the double impulse. However, it's kind of weird when you read on how this fuse functions, because basically it collapses from both ends. It collapses from the top and the bottom in order to get sufficient impact to set the detonator off, to set the fuse off. Maybe that's what they mean by double impulse. But as you see, here's the number 5. This is the top, has kind of a bolt on it so you can tell the difference. This is where the safety clip is, with a piece of string attached to it. Now the top of the fuse says armed, the bottom of the fuse says unarmed. Now, how are these packaged? From the information I can find, the mine itself is the package. It comes with a metal cover that goes over the top of the mine. The fuse is already inside the mine, and the cover is attached to the mine in 3 places. So it would be roughly around, say, the 4, the 8, and the 12 position. Now, the fuse, when it's in the mine for storage and transport, it is in upside down. As you can see here, that is the bottom of the fuse. So in theory, the mine is perfectly safe at that point for transporting, because the fuse is upside down, so it doesn't have the sufficient clearance for contact if it's crushed or damaged. Plus you have the safety clip in there, which also prevents the activation. Now, one thing I found out from Russian sappers, I looked to see what information they have because of encountering these mines. A note that they had on their information is that these mines are very poorly constructed. This picture right here is a mine that was in the ground for only 6 months. And as you can see, it's already heavily corroded and the paint is peeling off. This is a problem that the British were aware of. They did do an improved version of this to make it quote-unquote more waterproof or water resistant. That was the Mark 7.7. That's supposed to be the more waterproofed model. But most of the mines that are out there apparently are the Mark 7.4s, which is this really shoddy construction. Now, for installation on these mines, you remove the cover, transport the mine to the location it's going to go in. When you get to that location, if you're going to surface lay it, you set it out where you want it. If you're going to bury it, you go through, make the little mark on the ground where the hole's going to go, and then you dig out the hole. The British do the same way that the British did. They try to make a big flap of grass or sod that they can flip up and then put the mine underneath. Dig out a hole large enough for the mine, place it down in there with the top of the body here, you know, just a little bit above the level of the ground so that you're going to get that impact to set it off. But when you're ready to arm the mine, you unscrew the plug, and the plug is made out of steel. As you see, you got some finger holes on here if needed to help you with twist it, but from what I've seen in videos on this, it's really simple to take it out as long as it's not corroded in there. You then remove the number 5 fuse from out of the fuse well, flip it over so that the fuse looks like this with the bolt facing up. You then grab the safety clip, remove the safety clip, and then put the fuse back into the fuse well with the bolt facing up. At that point, you will take the fuse well cover, screw it back into the mine, and then camouflage the mine. If you are going to put on an anti-handling device, it actually said in the instructions that you install the anti-handling device into the mine after it has been fused and it is armed. Now, for removing the mine, first you go through, you locate the mine. Remember, your 2-finger sweeps, checking the area till you find the edge of the mine, check around the mine, find out if it has been booby-trapped, if there is an anti-handling device. You find an anti-handling device and it wasn't installed by you, destroy it in place. If it was installed by you, go through, disarm the anti-handling device at that time. Then you will unscrew the fuse well cover from the fuse well. You will reach inside with a couple fingers, pull the number 5 fuse out. You will reinstall the safety clip, flip it over so that the side that says unarmed is facing up. You put it back inside the mine, put the cover back in place, and then remove the mine from the hole, and then fill the hole back in. Now reportedly there is a tilt rod assembly for use on this mine, the L93A1. And that's all the information you're going to find on it. I cannot find any instructions for installing this mine with the tilt rod. So I do not know if the tilt rod assembly was manufactured and deployed. I can find no information on that. All the videos I can find on this, the manuals that I can find from the U.S. Army about the Mark 7, and yes, it is in U.S. Army manuals. I found that stuff linked to Special Forces. The only fuse it talks about is the number 5 and putting it in pressure. There is nothing in there about employing with a tilt rod. Now, because these mines were sent to Ukraine, you can guarantee there is going to be a large amount of them on the international arms black market. So these will appear in more places outside of the Middle East and Africa. Now, the ones in the Middle East and Africa, the reason those are there is pretty simple. Think back to when the British were still a colonial power. They would have had Mark 7s and Mark 5s would have been with their colonial troops inside the different colonies. And those stockpiles would have been turned over to the local government when they got their independence. So after that, that's when these mines started getting spread out, 1960s, 1970s, getting used in the different little brush wars and dust wars across the Middle East. This is an extremely simple mine, as you've seen. And it essentially is a World War II mine that was still being used 60 years after the war ended. So, now for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and militia movements, always remember essayons.